Hello, impromptu stream, but I gotta go to work soon. But I wanted to address ScreenRant's been doing stuff for years, but they finally said something that I've been saying for years, and also other people that I got into the expanding universe through, like Christopher Nelson and Matt Wilkins, have been saying forever. Um, Christopher Nelson actually gave attention to this when he. I don't know how well this is actually sounding because my internet is apparently doing poorly today. I don't know what's going on with that, but we'll see. I'd hope it'd be okay, but I can't really tell right now. Um, Hopefully, I sound okay. I'm not positive, but yeah, Christopher Nelson brought this to my attention. He made a post about it. But Christopher Nelson, Matt Wilkins, they've been saying this stuff for years, all the way back since 2014. I've been saying this for at least the last, when I get into the EU. I got into the EU shortly after high school. So, because I'm old, it's been probably at least 6 to 5 years now. That's crazy. I'm old. Hello. Am I sounding all right? I hope so. Let me know. But anyway, I've been saying this for years. So is Matt. So is Chris. So is a bunch of other people. But here, ScreenRant's late to the party. But regardless, it's better late than never. So here we have Star Wars should bring back the Legends canon, and Marvel shows us why. This is a little article they did. Star Wars is a franchise that's split into two distinct continuity: canon and Legends, formerly known as Expanded Universe. Both canon and Legends share the original Star Wars trilogy, but then they skew off in both directions, past and future. Well, not just the original Star Wars trilogy, also like the prequels, but okay. Within the respective continuities, offering fans completely different stories. This split came when Disney purchased Star Wars. We all know this. It's time Star Wars Legends makes a comeback, and Marvel reveals exactly how it can be done. Star Wars Legends can be traced all the way back to the 70s to 80s, immediately following the release of Star Wars New Hope. Back then, Marvel Comics had licensed to publish Star Wars tie-in comics, as well as the official comic book retelling of the films. It's during this period when Star Wars was at its goofiest, with hilariously absurd characters like Jax. It's not that absurd. And Don Juan Quixote. For long, however, the Star Wars Expanded Universe took a very serious turn. Now, of course, not do too much self-promotion, but if you subscribe to my channel, if you haven't already, I am on my podcast with my friends going through these very Marvel comics that he's talking about. So if you're like a Star Wars fan and just want to know, whether you're an EU fan or not, if you want to know more about the history of the franchise you like, this would be something to look into. Yeah, so they say that. What many consider to be the first installment of the Star Wars Expanded Universe is the Star Wars Heir to the Empire trilogy, otherwise known as the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. You can read this for yourself, but if you know the EU, then you know this. If you're new to the EU, well, welcome. From stories that took place during the Clone Wars, the Old Republic gave it a distinct future. Star Wars Legacy, Dark Horse helped shape the EU as much as the novels. After Disney bought Star Wars, the Star Wars comics moved over to Marvel Comics. And every bit of Star Wars continuity that wasn't the films or the animated series became known as Legends and immediately stopped being canon. From that point forward, every new Star Wars comic and novel was considered canon, with everything that happened in the Legends timeline left in the past. Now, I've been saying this forever. I mean, oh, you're so right. Happy March 25th. GR? What's GR mean? I'm an old man. But I've been saying this forever because I've said this multiple times during videos. This whole idea of, there are so many different multiverse versions of the same superhero characters. Spider-Man's a perfect example. You have, and he mentions the Ultimate Universe. You have Spider-Man, the main series, which has like 600 issues, right? That's the main Spider-Man. Then you have Ultimate Spider-Man, which is a different telling of the Spider-Man story. Things are a bit different. It's paced differently. It's not the same story. It's its own thing, and people recognize that it's a different timeline. It's a different universe. It's not the same events, beat by beat, and they understand that. They don't have any problem with that. Look at all the versions of Batman we've gotten, or Superman. Now, sometimes they make some convoluted explanation as to how all those things can coexist, but you don't even need to do that. There doesn't need to be any crossover between the two. It's just simply two different continuities. People aren't stupid; they'll understand. Which he kind of gets into, or she, whoever wrote this. For the most part, the new Ultimate Universe verse 6160 doesn't rely on the main continuity of verse 616 at all, as they exist in a complete separate and totally independent / self-sufficient universe. It's not as though characters are crisscrossing between the different universes all the time. Should be told, they almost never are. It's as simple as following two separate continuities to exist alongside each other, and the formula has proven incredibly successful. Fans have proven that they can handle two versions of Wolverine, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Batman, Superman. The list goes on and on. And Star Wars already had a multiverse sort of with the what-if stories, which they've kind of, in a sense, brought back with Visions, which again is another point in my favor. Because, well, we had this, was Star Wars Infinities, which were just a bunch of, like, non-canon, fun little what-ifs. But on top of that, in the canon that you have right now, you have Star Wars Visions, which is a bunch of anime short stories that take place nowhere. They even released a novel called Ronin, which was meant to be connected to one of the shorts in that series, but it wasn't put into Legends. But Legends is supposed to encapsulate non-canon, right? Anything that's not canon is Legends, except that they didn't put Visions in Legends because it's not a part of the Legends continuity. It's its own thing. So because what 99 of the expanding universe fans are asking for is more comics and novels. We're not asking for shows. We're not asking for movies. Now, the retort I've heard a few times now is, okay, but people just don't care. I mean, maybe. But, because I am right that they put all their effort and time into the movies and shows and don't really care about the tie-in stuff anymore. So what does it hurt to produce some Legends material? It's not going to give them less money. If anything, it'll give them more money. So there's that. If you go down here, yeah, and I already said this. They're just parallel worlds. They don't have to relate in any way, shape, or form. But that was basically the article. But we've been saying this for years, right? This whole they can both exist independently of one another. There's no need for this sort of crossover, or Disney canon can still keep their TV shows, their movies, their short stories, their comics, their video games, everything. All we're asking for is every few years we get a novel or a comic line or something. Would that be so hard? Especially, we don't need to conclude it or continued indefinitely. We just need a conclusion, right? And I don't think that'd be too hard to manage. So, ScreenRant's a bit late to the party. We've all been saying this for years, but it just makes sense. There is no detractment. There's no reason not to do it. It would only provide more money for Lucasfilm. It would not provide them less. And you'd stop having people complain to them. You'd have all the fans that eat up their new stuff. Cool, great. You'd have the fans that never read Legends became disillusioned with the new stuff, reading the old stuff, providing you more money. Sure, you have to pay a little bit to the author, but you're still getting money. And how many people are genuinely reading the new canon novels and comics? Because I'm sure it's a lot less than the ones watching the shows and movies. Right? Because less and less people are reading these days. But the people who still read typically read Legends. So you get the old fans back. They start buying stuff. You get fans that have become disillusioned with your new stuff. Start reading the old stuff, buying that, which gives you money. You start making new material. They're going to buy that, make more money. The new fans who love the new stuff also read the old stuff, love it, get more money. What is the downside? You're not spending thousands upon millions of dollars on a TV show or movie. You're just making a couple extra novels and comics every few years. It ultimately would hurt nobody whatsoever. It would only be a net benefit with no negatives for doing so. But I've been there, I've done that, I've said this a million times, but I thought ScreenRant should deserve some credit for saying what we've all been saying for years now. And thanks to Christopher Nelson for sharing it, because I'm not going to go and read ScreenRant or know when they're uploading a new article, because I don't care. But thanks to Christopher Nelson, I saw this and thought, hey, could talk about something that I've been talking about for a long, long time. And I know he's been talking about for a long, long time. Will Lucasfilm ever listen? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, 2014, I was 13 years old. I'm 24 years old now. How's that for perspective, since we've had the Expanded Universe discontinued? And when did the last issue of Marvel come out? 108? Wasn't that like 2015? 2016 at the latest? So regardless, I was a 14 or 15-year-old the last time we got actual officially released by Lucasfilm themselves Legends material. That's a long time. That being said, I will not give up hope. Maybe one day they will see logic and reason and provide more for the rest of us. Until then, ScreenRant brings up a brilliant point, and I've said this time and time again. Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man and 616 Spider-Man. One Spider-Man with 600 issues, the other one only with a couple hundred, I think, or 50, I forget. But people aren't stupid, and they know the difference. They know that they are not the same timeline. They know they're not the same character. But people still enjoy both. You can do the same with Star Wars. Make everyone happy. I don't want the Disney canon discontinued. I'd be the same monster. I'd be doing the same thing to people who enjoy it. That happened to everyone that I know that loved it. Again, I can't really put my hat in the race in terms of losing it, because I never knew I had it till after the fact. So it's a bit bittersweet as I came to reading 99% of the EU and finishing most of it. But I wouldn't do that to anybody, for those few who do enjoy it. But we can exist side by side, where everybody can get something out of it and be happy with it. Sure, Star Wars is just for fun. It's not real, but neither is none of the media we consume, from music. I mean, music's real in the sense that somebody made it, but like a lot of times the stories within it aren't real. Sometimes they are off of personal experience. Sometimes they're just what sounds like a good story for the music. You know, video games aren't real, but you experience it. That's the whole point of art, right? We are meant to kind of run away from the real world for a bit. It's always good to remember to come back to the real world, because you can't escape reality forever. But fiction is meant to be a reprieve, from the world. And Star Wars has stopped being a reprieve in terms of watching things, because I'm not a fan of it. And some people are, and that's an escape for them, and that's phenomenal. But if they want my money, it's a very easy way to do so. And it's not even that much of a cost to them to do so, with the millions and billions that Disney makes. But that is what it is. But I hope someday we will get more. And with simple logic like this in ScreenRant, like Christopher Nelson and Matt have been saying, what I've been saying, it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable. But that's pretty much it. Just wanted to shed light on it, bring it up. But I gotta go. I gotta head to work. So hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, whenever you're watching this. And long live the expanding universe. Hashtag give us more legends. Please and thank you. And yeah. Have a good day. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.